Hello! For those of you who don't remember, I'm Kate Montgomery, your dedicated LexisNexis research attorney. I've been with Lexis for over a year, and prior to working for Lexis, I worked as a criminal defense attorney. Now I work exclusively with law schools to help make their research more efficient. In this video, I'm going to review Shepard's Reports. More specifically, how to determine whether the law you found is still good law. So you probably have two questions right about now. What is Shepards and what is Shepardizing? Shepards is a gold standard citator service in the legal industry, and it's found exclusively on Lexis. Shepards has been the market leader in citation services for 140 years and is known for its trustworthiness and accuracy in advising you on whether a case is good law. So you heard me say citator service. A citator service is a tool that allows you to track the history of your case and the treatment of your case by subsequent courts. So when someone says Shepardize a case, it simply means to determine if a case is still good law or not. A full Shepard's report will show you how every other court has treated your case since it was decided using different symbols to categorize how your case has been treated. It places the symbol of the most negative treatment your case has received to the left of the case name, as we will see when we go live. The purpose of this video is to learn about accessing and using a Shepard's report, specifically to find out how the case that we found has been treated. The process we're going to go through to do that includes 5 things. First, we'll learn about the Shepard symbols. Then we'll review the Shepard's preview box. We'll then discuss and walk through the Shepard's report, learn how to set alerts in Shepard's reports, and lastly, we'll go over Ravel View. By the end of today's training, you will know how to use Shepards to validate your research, which will make you a better writer and a more credible attorney. Let's dive into what the different Shepard symbols mean. Pictured is an overview of the common Shepard symbols. Shepard symbols on cases indicate positive, negative, and neutral treatment of the case by other courts. Let's walk through each of the symbols from bottom to top. First, we'll go over the blue or neutral treatment indicators. The blue symbol with the I in the center of it means there are citing references available for your case that are not positive or negative. For example, these references could be law review citations. The blue symbol with an A in it means there is treatment available for your case that is not positive or negative. An example of this is when a case says, explained by, then your case. In both cases, a blue symbol indicates neutral treatment, in other words, neither negative or positive analysis. Next, let's talk about the green symbol. When we see a green symbol, it reveals positive treatment and means that the case has been followed by other cases in courts. In other words, other cases in courts have affirmed, agreed, upheld, and ultimately follow it as binding precedent. Shepards is the only citator that has true positive analysis. This means that when you see a positive symbol, you truly know that the citing opinion relies on the case you are Shepardizing as controlling or persuasive authority. In contrast, other citator services will lump all cases that are not negative under their positive filter. That means their positive filter will also include cases that have both a neutral or followed by designation, which means you have to do a bit more work to really know whether that case is positive or not. Next, let's talk about the yellow cautionary symbol. This means that possible negative treatment is indicated. This is probably the most frequent you'll see, and it means that the citing opinion has limited or has distinguished your case, but it hasn't risen to overruling it. A limited or narrowed by means the citing case has said the original only applies in certain circumstances. Distinguished is very fact-specific. It means that the citing case has said that your case doesn't apply here for X, Y, or Z reasons. So it's important that when you are examining a case with a cautionary symbol that you really see if the facts described are very similar to your case. If the circumstances are truly different, then the case is still good law, and you can use this case. Next, let's talk about the orange question symbol. This indicates that the validity of your case has been questioned by a citing reference. This indicates that there are cases questioning the continued validity or precedential value of your case. Maybe they're pointing you to a case that's overruled it, or maybe one circuit is disagreeing with another but can't overrule the other. Or possibly a lower court is saying to a higher court, you need to check yourself because legislation has come out since the ruling that makes the higher court's ruling no longer good law. Last but not least, let's talk about red stop sign warning. If you see a red stop sign, that means there's at least one holding in the case that's been overruled. So when you see a stop sign in real life, what do? Do you stop and walk away from your car? No, you look both ways and proceed with caution. Well, that's exactly what you're going to do here. Your job is to make sure the point of law you're relying on is not overruled. In other words, if we are using the case for another holding, then we can still use that point of law. It's still good law. For the remainder of this video, I will be conducting a demonstration on Lexis+. Feel free to follow along at plus.lexis.com. I will be using United States versus Lee, which you could get to by entering 22F3D736 into the Lexis Plus search box. United States versus Lee is a case with two main holdings. The first is that theft from a person is not a violent crime, and the second is that classification under U.S. sentencing guidelines must be based on the elements of the offense as revealed in the charging papers, not on the facts of the case. So with that said, let's go ahead and run a search for United States versus Lee, and we can take a look at the initial Shepard's signal. You will have a Shepard signal next to your case name. This signal will reflect the most negative treatment your case has received, giving you an immediate heads up. But the most negative treatment is not the whole story, so we will want to look at all the ways this case has been treated. With that said, we're going to want to take a look at the Shepard's preview box. The Shepard's preview box is a quick and easy way to see when legal issues within your case are being overruled and followed. First, we'll look at the Reasons for Shepard symbol tool. This highlights the passage that our Shepard's attorney editors have selected as having the strongest influence on the signal indicator. Click the Y button next to our initial symbol. We can quickly see that the case is overruled in part by US v. Howes. It even highlights the relevant passage in Howes that notes the principle in Lee's that is overruled. We can even quickly click on Howes to open it right from this dialog box. I'll close out of this for now so we can take a look at the remainder of the Shepard's report. First, we'll see there is no subsequent appellate history. We'll see the total number of citing decisions citing to Lee. And then we'll see the corresponding signal, meaning an amount of citations for each particular treatment. Quickly, we are able to see that the subsequent cases have cited to Lee positively. One explanation for seeing both treatments is a potential split of authority. Shepard's is the only citator that can surface potential authority split because it shows not only the negative treatment, but also affirmative positive treatment. So here we see the stop sign and the positive follow signal, which means we want to look to see if there's a split in authority or some other reason for both signals, like maybe there are multiple holdings. This is a good reminder. Even if the Shepard signal next to your case name is a stop sign, you can see here in the Shepard's preview box that there's also positive treatment. So we will want to dive into the full Shepard's report to understand the treatment and what it means for our ability to rely on this case. The last feature in the Shepard's preview box is the Shepardizes document. This brings us to the official Shepard's report. But before we do that, let's recap what we've learned so far. We've learned that Shepard's is a citator service, and it's how we see how our case has been treated and if it's still good law. We went over the different Shepard symbols and meanings, and also how the Shepard's preview box allows you to quickly see how legal issues in your case are being overruled or followed. We noted that Shepard's is the only service that lets you know when another court has given an actual affirmative treatment and followed your case, and the symbol next to the case name is the most negative treatment this case has received. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into the third part of our presentation, which is walking through a Shepard's report. There are three ways to access a Shepard's report. You can click Shepardize this document in the Shepard's preview box, you can select the initial case signal next to the case name, or you can select the Citing Sources tab at the top of the page. Shepardizing allows you to filter for cases that overrule or follow legal principles within your case, thus allowing you to locate potential splits of authority, determine if you can still rely on your case, and locate additional cases to strengthen your argument. We're now looking at the Citing Decisions tab. This is the default view and where you will spend most of your time in a Shepard's report. This is a list of all the cases that cite to our case and each corresponding Shepard signal. In Citing Decisions, you have filters. Just like your search filters, this lets you narrow down the report to a specific result you're looking for. You can narrow by search terms, analysis, court, publication status, level of discussion, headnote, or timeline. Now, some of you may be visual learners like me. There's a Shepard's option for that called Grid View. So I'll scroll back to the top, and viewing the Shepard's report in Grid View gives you a visual depiction of how your case or issue has been treated by different courts over time. When looking in the court view, I'm able to see how cases in individual jurisdictions treated my case. If I flip over to Date View, I see how the treatment has varied or changed over time. Located right under the Grid View is the Shepard's Legend. This is where you can look back to make sure you understand what each Shepard symbol means. To analyze our results today, let's filter by the analysis type. Just like you would with search filters, you can select one or multiple. To do this, I will select multiple, and I will select warning, question, caution, treatment, and hit OK. And then we'll want to analyze our results. We want to review the results from our filtered report. Notice how you can see not just the name of the case that cites back to our case, but here with the colored squares, you can see the type of treatment this case gives our case. whether it is overruled or followed. This can help us quickly locate cases with potential authority splits or even relevant treatments. Let's look at the House case. We talked about this case earlier, and we see two signal indicators. We see they overrule part of Lee, and they still follow part of Lee. So part of this is binding precedent. You can click on the paragraph to jump to that exact discussion in the opinion. If you read through House in full, you'll see that while it overruled the holding on theft not being a violent crime, we could still use Lee to support an argument on sentencing guidelines. Assuming there are no other overruling cases to review, and that I looked at cautionary treatment affecting this ruling, I can feel confident about using US v. Lee to support my argument on sentencing guidelines. I can even cite to US v. House as backup that US v. Lee is good law on this point. Before we finish looking at the Shepards report, let's briefly discuss the other sections of the report. The first tab I want to talk about is other citing decisions. The second most common portion is this tab. This shows you every document type other than a case that cites to the case. I can, for instance, say, look at law review articles that cite to my case. This can be helpful because these articles can sometimes explain what happened in a case in a clearer way than the case itself. The history tab will show us the history leading up to the opinion when applicable. And last, we have the table of authorities. Here you'll see a list of every case my case is cited to within the opinion. So it's kind of the reverse. Up until now, we've been talking about citing to my case. Now we're going to see what my case is cited to. So if I want to see just how strong of a footing my case is on, what does my case rely upon to get to its conclusion? I can quickly see every case it does to do that. We'll see that all these cases predate US v. Lee 1993 cases, whereas United States versus Lee came out in 1994. Before we move on, I want to talk about one more feature, Shepards at Risk. I'm going to pull up a different case to show this feature. This is a Lexis Plus exclusive via Shepards that tells you when an intervening event could impact the precedential value of a case, when a case has not been overruled but rather is at risk of such. When you click on Shepards at Risk, Lexis Plus instantly identifies the passages that cause concern. In this case, as explained on the right, the reason those passages cause concern is because they rely on a previously overruled decision. Click on the right arrow next to passage 1 of 2, and Lexis Plus will take you to the second passage. While Dura hasn't technically been overruled, we may want to keep an extra eye out on this case if we're relying on it. Before we move on, let's do a quick recap. We know all the ways we can access a Shepards report, which allows us to see other cases that have cited to my case and allow me to filter by analysis and search for more terms within my Shepards report. Finally, we saw Lexis Plus also lets us know when a case is at risk of being overruled. And with that, let's talk about setting Shepards alerts. Next, I'm going to tell you how to set an alert on a Shepards report. To do this, I will go back to our original case, United States versus Lee. Recall that there are 3 ways to access a Shepards report. We can click Shepardize this document, click the initial Shepards signal, or click Citing Decisions. For this, I will click on Shepardize document so you can see that the Citing Decisions tab is the default tab. To set an alert on a Shepards report, once you're in the Shepards report, click on the bell icon next to the case name. Once we do this, we'll have a dialog box that appears where we can add some features to our report. First, we have the Overview tab, which we can change the title of our alert if we wish, or we can keep it as the case name. For our purposes, I'll leave the case name there. Next, we go to Monitor. We can monitor for any change, new negative analysis, and custom settings. I recommend leaving it on any change so you can monitor not just only for new negative analysis that may affect the validity of your case, but you can also monitor for any positive followed by to beef up your arguments. Next, we have the Delivery tab. Your alert will automatically set for 2 years, but if you need to monitor that case for less than 2 years, you can change that here. This is how often the system will look for updates on your Shepards report. I recommend leaving it on daily. Next, you'll select your delivery type. I recommend putting in your email so you're the first to know when there's an update to your Shepards report. You can add your email here. And then you can select your email notification frequency. You can get a notification only when a change occurs, or you can get a notification daily, even if there's no change. I'm going to select when a change occurs, so I'm not getting a ton of emails. And then from there, I will select Create Alert, and I will be able to be notified when there is a change to this Shepards report. Lastly, I want to change course a little bit and talk to you about Ravel View and how it can help you find the best cases to cite to. In order to determine which case to cite to for a research assignment, considered factors might include what course the case is from, how current it is, relevancy, validity, and how frequently courts cite to the case. Within this cite list view, it would take a significant amount of time to make these determinations and mine the data. But with Ravel View of the site list, all of this information can be gleaned at a glance. Ravel View is cutting-edge technology that uses the latest in machine learning, data mining, and visualization technology to identify the most influential landmark cases from your search results and then find other connected cases to help you identify all relevant sources you need. So as you can see, I ran a basic search for dog bite and negligence, and we have 4,052 results. This is the traditional case law view, and I could sift through all these cases. Instead, I'm going to go to the top right corner of my result view list and click on Ravel View. Ravel View graphically presents the top 75 results from any case law results list. Each circle on the graph represents one case. The graph is organized by court on the vertical axis and by date on the horizontal axis. So for example, in the top row, find the Supreme Court cases on this topic. Another thing to keep in mind is the higher the circle is within its row, the more relevant it is to the search query. On the right of the graph, the most recent opinions are located. The size of each circle is a reflection of how frequently the case is cited. The larger the circle, the more the case has been cited among these cases, so you can easily identify the most cited two cases just by looking at the size of the circle. The lines connecting cases indicate a citing relationship. So Ravel View allows you to quickly find the cases from the highest court, the most current cases, the most relevant cases, and the most cited cases, as well as the citing relationship that exists between the cases, all in one single view. Ravel View is interactive. To view a specific case, simply click on the circle. The case name and citation displays on the top right of the graph. Hover your cursor over the connected cases to view the citing relationship. On the right of your screen, your result list shifts the case you selected to the top of the list so you can quickly open and view the full text of the case. To return to the full view of all available case connections, click anywhere on the Ravel View background. So now you know how to use Ravel View to find top cases that you will then Shepardize to determine if you can rely on them. This concludes our Shepards workshop. Let's recap what we've learned. You know the meaning of the Shepard signal and how to use Shepard's preview box to quickly determine if you should dig deeper into the case. You now know how to get a full Shepard's report and how to review and analyze the results using filters and other tools in the report while also understanding what it means if a case is at risk. You learned how to set a Shepard's alert to stay on top of developments to your research. And lastly, we covered Ravel View so you can help find important cases and see how they cite one another. Now you know how to use Shepards to validate your research and know whether you can confidently support your argument with a particular case. Question I often get is, do I Shepardize each case? The answer is yes. If you see a caution symbol, a question symbol, or a warning symbol, that just simply means you're going to have to do more work. Again, I'm Kate Montgomery, and thank you for tuning into today's lesson, and please feel free to reach me at Caitlin, KATELYN.Montgomery@LexisNexis.com or at 216-327-9469, call or text with any questions or concerns. Thank you.